The Boston Red Sox are back to dead average, which is fitting because they're playing lifeless baseball right now. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin. The Boston Red Sox just wrapped up their 4-game series against the best team in baseball, the Tampa Bay Rays, and well, it didn't go very well. After winning the first game, they dropped the next 3 in a row, and the worst part to me, in my opinion, about this series was the fact that there wasn't one area that was really struggling, right? Every single part of this Red Sox team struggled in this series, and it led to 3 losses in a row. So what we are going to do in today's video is we're going to break down this latest series. We're going to talk about everything that went wrong for the Red Sox. We're going to talk about the few bright spots that did occur in this series, and we're going to talk about what this series means in the grand scheme of the season, how it's going to affect the Red Sox chances to really perform in the month of June. But before we get into that, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. Helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. As we normally do in these series recaps, let's start by breaking down the offense first. And the offense for the Red Sox in this series was a huge issue, but there were a few bright spots. Those bright spots include the star of the series, I guess, offensively for the Red Sox, Justin Turner. He didn't have a ton of hits, but when he did get a hit, he really made them count. He had a 3-run double in the first game of the series en route to their only win, and he had a home run in the last game of the series that was the Red Sox only run. Again, like I say time and time again, Justin Turner's just a really solid hitter, and he's a guy who I love being in the heart of this order. He's a guy who puts together tough at-bats, who can do damage to you when given the right pitches, and I just love Justin Turner being in this lineup. Outside of Justin Turner, there really weren't a ton of bright spots in total for the Red Sox. Alex Verdugo had a good series at the plate. He ended up hitting .333 with 3 doubles and a triple with 2 RBIs mixed in there. He had 6 hits in this series, 4 of them were extra bases, and he robbed a home run. Doogie's continuing to impress this season, and honestly, depending on how this month goes for the Red Sox and for Alex Verdugo, I wouldn't be shocked by the end of the month to start hearing some negotiation talks about an extension coming up here, because he has really been sort of the life force of the front half of this lineup so far this year. Masataka Yoshida once again hit above 300 in this series. He hit .313 with a pair of doubles and a pair of RBIs. He is now up to a 138 OPS plus on the season, and in my opinion, he needs to be in Seattle at the All-Star game this year. He is by far and away the Red Sox most consistent hitter. I don't care if the Red Sox are losing every game or if the Red Sox are winning every game. Masataka Yoshida is going to hit the ball, and he's going to get on base. It's just simply what he does. He has by far and away been the most impressive part of this team so far this year, and he is by far and away the Red Sox most consistent piece on their roster right now. Now, that's kind of it, right? Outside of that, the Boston Red Sox really struggled offensively in this series. Now, part of that is probably due to the fact that the Tampa Bay Rays are a mecca of pitching right now, right? They have some of the best pitchers in all of baseball. You face the front runner for the Cy Young Award in this series, and the weather was really crappy. It was hard to get the ball out of the yard, but you only had 1 home run in this series, and it was Justin Turner. And on top of that, you had opportunities to capitalize on mistakes by this Rays pitching staff, which is very rare, right? Especially against Shane McClanahan. Shane McClanahan gave up a couple of walks, and the Red Sox simply could not drive him in. In fact, in this series, the Boston Red Sox went just 7 for 36 with runners on base. That is a 194 average. They left a total of 34 men on the bases in this series. Like we've been talking about the entire year, this Red Sox team lives and dies by its offense, and you saw exactly in this series what happens when the Red Sox offense comes to the plate completely lifeless. The problem for me is not the fact that they are putting together bad at-bats, it's the fact that they can't drive people in, right? The approach is still there. The approach is still grind out at-bats. If you can take a walk, great. If you get a hit, great, right? And then you have the next guy step up, and that guy is supposed to be able to drive you in, or at the very least, move station to station until someone can get a big hit. hit. That's how this Red Sox offense has been sort of motoring this entire season. Well, in these last couple of series, what we're seeing is a lot of runners left on base, a lot of guys just simply not being able to get that big hit, or at the very least move station to station. And to me, that's the biggest problem right now. What the Red Sox offense needs is to come back to life, and they need to come back to life now. They can't afford another series where they just simply can't get runners across the plate. Now, how do they do that? That's the bigger question, right? What you're going to need is those role players to step up again. The Christian Arroyos of the world, the Emmanuel Valdez of the world, the Connor Wongs of the world, right? You need those guys to step back up, and you need those guys to start producing at the plate, not in an insane level, but again, just station to station baseball. And then you need your big guys, right? You need Rafael Devers to start figuring it out at the plate, right? Giving him more and more time to figure it out has been a problem. He needs to get it together at the plate. Hopefully Adam Duvall coming back adds a little bit of help to Rafi getting better pitches and injecting a little bit of a power stroke into this lineup. He's desperately needed right now. Even if he's not going to hit 400, he's going to be a presence in this lineup, and you need those other guys to get on base, because if you can't do that, again, this Red Sox team sinks or swims by its offense, and June is the most important month of the season for the Red Sox. If they cannot get runners across the plate, they're not going to be successful in the month of June. As for the pitching in this series, it was dead average, just like the rest of this team has been. In game 1, we saw Garrett Whitlock, who ended up going 4 2/3 innings, allowing 4 runs on 6 hits, walking 2 and striking out 5. Was it a bad start? Not really. It wasn't a terrible start, right? It's not something that we're going to sit here and go, whoa, that was really bad. But was it a great start? Definitely not. It was an average start that kept this team in the game, so I don't have a ton of complaints about it either way, but we'll get to why it's important that he's giving mediocre starts in a second. Game 2 in the doubleheader saw Cutter Crawford in more of an opener role. He ended up going 3 innings, allowing 1 earned run and 2 hits, and striking out 3 batters. I think if Sale's going to spend a significant amount of time on the IL, this is who should be starting in his absence, right? Cutter, in my opinion, has a pretty decently high ceiling when it comes to being a starting pitcher at the major league level, and if Chris Sale's going to be out for an extended period of time, you're probably not going to be competing legitimately for a wild card spot anyways, so you might as well see what you have in Cutter Crawford. So I honestly really like Cutter Crawford as a starter in this rotation, so if we have an open spot, I think it should go to Cutter Crawford. In game 3, we got Tanner Houck, who gave you a really similar stat line to Garrett Whitlock. He ended up going 5 innings, allowing 4 earned runs on 5 hits, walking a ton of guys, which is not a good sign. 4 total in this game, and he struck out 6. Again, another meh start, right? It wasn't very good. It wasn't terrible. It was enough to sort of keep this offense in the game, but it wasn't anything special. And finally, to finish out this series in game 4, we got Brayan Bello, who flat out did not deserve his final stat line. He ended up going 6 innings with 3 earned runs on 6 hits and striking out 5. Those earned runs came off of the flukiest inning I have seen in my entire life. Ground balls being chopped over the third baseman's head, ground balls getting poked back up the middle. None of the balls that were hit very hard, aside from 1 double in that inning, and it was just wildly frustrating to watch. I can't imagine what Brayan Bello felt. This is the one start in this series that I would say was really, really successful, aside from Cutter Crawford's opening, right? I think Brayan Bello is really settling in and becoming a true piece to this Red Sox rotation. He's definitely a guy I'm not super worried about. But overall, when it comes to starting pitching in this series and what it means in total for the Red Sox, right now, you are getting medium starts from your starting pitchers, right? Garrett Whitlock, Tanner Houck, those are 2 guys, especially if Chris Sale's going to be out for an extended period of time, that need to step it up this month and going forward throughout the season, right? This is a team where you are going to live or die by the offense, but the pitching staff, especially the starting pitching staff, is going to keep you in games. If you don't get someone like Whitlock or Houck to step up in the next couple of weeks, it's going to be a bit of a struggle for this Red Sox team to be successful, right? You need one of those 2 to step it up. They've been all over the place this year, and part of that is due to the fact that the Rays have the best offense in baseball, and part of that's due to the crappy weather, and I'm sure part of it too is just adjusting to being a true starting pitcher in Major League Baseball, but you need them to step up. You need someone in this rotation, aside from Bello and maybe Paxton, to become a 3-type pitcher, and that needs to be either Garrett Whitlock or Tanner Houck. As for the bullpen in this series, it was pretty much the same story, right? You had some good performances from guys like Caleb Ord out of nowhere, right? He gave you 2 really solid appearances. Ryan Sheriff looked pretty good. Brennan Bernardino looked all right. And then you got kind of crappy appearances as well. Nick Pivetta only made it through, I think, a third of an inning. He walked 3 batters, allowed 1 earned run. You had Kenley Jansen in the 9th inning of the second game, who was pitching twice in one day, give up a couple of runs. I really don't think Kenley should have been in there in general, but he did, and he messed up. Corey Kluber got a couple of earned runs in this series as well as out of the bullpen, but to be honest with you, he really didn't deserve them. He was pitching pretty well, and honestly, he was backed up by a ton of really bad defense, so I don't really blame Corey Kluber for his outing. Honestly, he looked pretty good out of the bullpen. He was getting a lot of weak contact. He was pounding the strike zone. I was all right with Corey out of the bullpen. What I was not all right with was the defense in this series, because the defense in totality was just plain awful, right? It was lifeless. It was lifeless offense. It was lifeless defense. It was lifeless pitching. And overall in this series, it was just flat out lifeless. You couldn't get the job done offensively. You got mediocre starts from your pitchers that need to step it up. Your defense was dead terrible, right? It was not good in this series. It was all over the place, aside from that last game where you got 2 robbed home runs, which is great. But the other 3 games in the series, you were all over the place defensively. The bullpen was mediocre at best, right? There were some good starts, there were some good appearances, there were some bad appearances. And what really frustrates me is, like we've talked about leading up to this entire month, June is the most important month of the season. You now started at 1-3. Now, granted, you were playing the best team in baseball. Granted, the weather was really crappy. Granted, you're coming off of a pretty long stretch of games here. You get 1 game rained out. It was a weird series, but either way, if the Red Sox want to be a competitive team this year, I'm not talking about making the playoffs. I'm talking about just being competitive baseball for the rest of the year, right? You're gonna have to do well in June, and now you're 1-3. You've dug yourself a hole, and you need to step it up. You need to step it up now. There needs to be some sort of life left in this team. You need to figure out how to come back to life against teams like the Guardians, the Yankees. You need to figure out how to beat these good teams, or you're gonna end up falling way behind in June, and we're gonna have a much different conversation going into July. Something needs to change, and it needs to change now. But that's just my opinion, so let me know in the comment section down below. What did you think of this latest Red Sox series? What did you think of the sort of lifeless offense, defense, all the way around lifeless series for the Red Sox? And what do you think this means for the month of June? Let me know all your thoughts on the Red Sox latest struggles and series in the comment section down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. Helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the red seats.